Is it just me, or are you starting to hear and see the media talk about and make a fuss of employees considering leaving their job? Seriously, check this out. CNBC, nearly 50% of people are considering leaving their jobs in 2024, more than during the Great Resignation. The Ken Coleman Show, 50% are considering leaving their jobs in 2024. And Gallup, half of your employees are looking to leave. This raises the question, is this a big deal? And if so, how does it impact you if it is? This is the question I'm going to answer today. Stick around to the end because the answers to these questions is important to have when it comes to formulating the right strategy to find a new job. Before I forget, I'm Seth. This is Acquired Salary, the best living through career mastery. I would be so grateful if you like the video and subscribe to this channel. It's support like this that helps to grow Acquired Salary's reach so we can continue to give you free tools, information, and perspectives you need to build the life you want. CNBC presents some data around job quits and the Great Resignation. So essentially, in 2022, at the height of the Great Resignation, a record of 4.5 million workers were quitting each month. That was roughly 3% of the workforce at the time. They also say nearly half, 46% of professionals, are looking or considering quitting their job in the next year, which is higher than 40% who said this in 2021. And this is a study by Microsoft and LinkedIn. Additionally, LinkedIn has seen a 14% increase in job applications per opening since last fall. And 85% of workers say they are planning to look for a new role in 2024. Americans are confident in the job hunting prospects as it's reached its highest point in 2 years as of February 2024, according to a ZipRecruiter survey. And then as we get into it a little bit more, changing jobs is coming with greater pay gains. New data from ADP shows the median year-over-year pay increase for job switchers was 10% in March, up from 2.9% in the prior 6 months. And taking a look at resigners' remorse, about 80% of those who quit their jobs during the Great Resignation regretted their decision. CNBC doesn't make any major conclusions other than the fact that Americans are confident in their career prospects, but they also say dissatisfaction could be an equal driver to seek new opportunities. The Ken Coleman Show expands on this and makes some greater conclusions on how it could impact you. Ken's conclusions are massive labor turnover is going to contribute to more inflation, and the hedonic treadmill may end up turning a new job opportunity into a trap, like great regret. It ends up being a trap to where you change jobs, but you don't end up in a better situation than you were before. Both CNBC and the Ken Coleman Show make some valid points, but they're missing some data, which inherently is going to change the reasonable conclusion of the data. So addressing the Great Resignation, we were at 4.5 million workers leaving the job force or quitting each month. Well, if we go ahead and take at the most recent JOLTS report, we can take a look at job quits. In April of 2023, we had 3.5 million job quits. March of 2024, we saw 2.9 million job quits. And April of 2024, we saw 3.4 million job quits. Essentially, we're sitting at a far lower number of job quits. So this is inherently showing that the labor market is not necessarily acting on this desire to quit. Also, if we consider the Great Resignation with 11 to 12 million jobs open, and we only had roughly 5.5 to 6 million unemployed people or job seekers. So that's roughly 2 jobs for every job seeker, which is going to make it a loose labor market. And a loose labor market means there's more competition to actually hire employees. And that's where we can see the incredible offers of you're getting 20%, 50% more doing relatively similar work. At this point in time, though, with the most recent JOLTS report, we see there is currently only 8 million job openings, but the unemployment numbers are at 6.6 million. So we're less than 2 jobs for every job seeker. And essentially, this is just kind of helping to show that overall, even though people want to quit, they're not quitting because they're in perhaps the region beta paradox, which is where things are bad and they don't love their work, but they're not bad enough for them to actually take action. And this is as we start to consider some of the additional data where 46% of employees are considering quitting. Well, this is according to Microsoft and LinkedIn. It is an increase compared to 2021, but if you look at Gallup's data, Gallup on their annual state of the global workforce has shown relatively consistent numbers in terms of from 2018 to now, we've been anywhere from 47% of people considering leaving to 52% people considering leaving. And then as we get into the job applicants, a 14% increase in the number of people applying to jobs is just going to show that there's an increase in competition for jobs, which inherently is going to push the wage price spiral down. It's going to end up being a tight labor market. So a tight labor market is where employees are seeking jobs, but employers have the option of candidates, so they can pick the best candidate and they can get a deal on what they're paying people. 85% of workers that plan to look for a new role. I think this is a moot point, because essentially you can intend to look for a new role, but that doesn't actually mean you're going to find a new role, especially with the unemployment numbers and current job openings. I think the workforce knows this because we're seeing fewer quits. And the point that job prospect confidence is at its highest point in the past 2 years doesn't quite make sense to me, because people are acting in accordance with they're not incredibly confident, because if they were, they would be quitting at higher rates. I'll have to dig into this one a little bit more, and I'll release another video on it after I take a look at more of the data. ADP shows that 10% job switch pay increase is up from the 2.9% from the prior 6 months. This is a good indicator that we're starting to see the labor market start to loosen, which is going to be good for an employee. Like, if you want to find a better job, it's going to be easier if you have a loose labor market. That means it's your choice on where you end up going. But from that standpoint, we're still not at the typical numbers, which is something like 15 to 20% when you switch jobs. So we're still on the tighter side of the labor market, but we are starting to see some indications that the labor market is loosening. And for the data point of 80% of those who quit during the Great Resignation ended up regretting the decision, this doesn't fully make sense to me. I did another video on why you should never accept a counteroffer from your current employer. Essentially, it boils down to, if you accept a counteroffer, it doesn't change the fact that the underlying systemic issues that cause you to apply to jobs and get another offer aren't going to change. Even if you get an increase in your pay, the hedonic treadmill is going to essentially make it so that you adjust to that new pay relatively quickly, and you're going to be equally as dissatisfied as you were before. Now that we have all the data, we can make the most reasonable conclusion. There's data showing that people are considering quitting their jobs, but it's not abnormally high according to Gallup. Therefore, it's not a big deal. But some of the other data does still show there is an impact on you, especially if you're considering seeking a new job. The job market is still tight. It is an employer's market. So even if you are considering quitting and you're searching for a new job, it's not going to be necessarily easy to find that better job. We're starting to see some data like the ADP report showing that the labor market is perhaps starting to loosen, but there is still downward pressure as the job change pay increases is lower than historical averages, which is further confirmed by the fact that LinkedIn has seen an increase in the number of applicants per open role. When it comes to formulating the right job search strategy, you can increase your chances of finding a new job or a better job by making sure you have in-demand skills. Further, when it comes to how you get placed into a job, networking is still going to be a way better option than simply applying online. Regardless, I'm curious, what do you think? How does this match up to your experience? Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you've made it this far into the video, you may be interested in checking out my video on why it feels impossible to find a job right now. Further, if you want to work on mastering your career, consider joining the Acquired Salary community using the first link in the description below. It's here that you'll gain access to scheduling a one-on-one with me so we can formulate the best career development plan specific to your situation. Until next time, thank you.